We live in an age where humanity can live stream a rover's landing on Mars in high definition, yet entire communities on Earth struggle to access clean drinking water. We can split the atom, unleashing energies rivaling the core of stars, yet we have not figured out how to stop splitting ourselves apart over borders, politics, and ideologies. We can map the observable universe, tracing galaxies billions of light years away, but many of us feel lost trying to map meaning in our own lives. That's the paradox of our time, technological brilliance paired with existential confusion. And that paradox should make us pause, not with despair, but with curiosity. Because if we are capable of decoding the genome, if we can bend metal into spacecraft that leave our planet, if we can look back in time nearly to the Big Bang, then why do so many of us feel powerless in shaping the trajectory of our own lives? Perhaps the answer is not found in the latest device, or in algorithms, or even in science itself, but in the timeless qualities of purposeful souls. Those rare individuals who seem to radiate clarity, resilience, determination, vision, the ones who live not as passengers on this cosmic ship, but as navigators. They remind us that while the universe is indifferent, our choices are not. Don't mess with the purposeful souls, because they are the gravitational centers of history, bending the orbits of those around them. They are the quiet architects of tomorrow, shaping futures long before the present realizes what happened. And they are living proof that while the universe gave us atoms and laws of physics, it is up to us to give it meaning. Now, let me be clear. Purposeful souls are not mystical beings with halos hovering above their heads. They are not immune to failure, fear, or fatigue. In fact, they stumble, they doubt, they bleed just like you. But what sets them apart is not their immunity to challenge, but their response to it. Like neutron stars, they collapse pressure into density, obstacles into energy. They remind us that resilience is not avoidance of difficulty, but transformation through it. So tonight, let us journey into their essence, not with bullet points or checklists, but as explorers moving through constellations of qualities, tracing patterns across the sky of human possibility. Because if the cosmos has taught us anything, it's this: stars are born not in stillness, but in turbulence. Purposeful souls are no different. Clarity. In a universe where even photons bend under the weight of gravity, clarity is rare. Our lives are saturated with noise notifications vibrating in our pockets, headlines screaming for our attention, algorithms predicting what we'll think before we even think it. And yet, purposeful souls seem to cut through all of that, like a laser slicing fog. Think of the North Star. For centuries, sailors at sea navigated not with GPS or satellites, but by that single point of light. No matter the storm, no matter the shifting tides, the North Star remained fixed, a reference in the chaos. That's what clarity does in a human life. Purposeful souls orient themselves to their North Star, an inner compass pointing not just to what they do, but why they do it. And notice, this clarity doesn't mean they always know every step ahead. Even Einstein, before publishing Relativity, admitted, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious." His clarity was not in predicting every outcome, but in knowing what questions mattered enough to pursue. The paradox here is that we live in an age of more information than ever before, yet more confusion. We can Google the surface temperature of Mars, but can we answer why we wake up in the morning? We can stream infinite knowledge, but how often do we stream meaning? Purposeful souls refuse to drown in that ocean of noise. They select signal over static. They know that clarity is not just about vision, but about filtration, discarding what does not align with their trajectory. Like astrophysicists filtering cosmic microwave background radiation to glimpse the afterglow of the Big Bang, purposeful souls filter the chaos of modern life to glimpse their own beginnings, their own destiny. And clarity is contagious. Stand near someone who knows where they are going, and suddenly your own compass vibrates, recalibrates. That's why purposeful souls bend history. Not because they demand obedience, but because clarity attracts gravity. But clarity alone is not enough. The universe will always test it. Stars collapse, tectonic plates shift, economies crumble, relationships fracture. What happens then? This is where the second essence of purposeful souls reveals itself: resilience. Resilience. In astrophysics, resilience is written into the very fabric of the cosmos. Stars collapse under their own gravity, and instead of vanishing quietly, some explode in supernovae so bright they outshine entire galaxies. From that destruction comes creation, new stars, new planets, even the atoms that would one day become you and me. Purposeful souls embody that same cosmic law. When adversity strikes, when everything around them seems to collapse, they do not disappear, they transform. Think of the phoenix myth for some, metaphor for others rising from its own ashes. But in scientific terms, resilience is less mystical and more practical. It is biology itself. Your bones, when stressed through exercise, become denser. Your immune system, when exposed to pathogens, becomes stronger. Evolution itself is resilience writ large. Life adapting, adjusting, finding a way through ice ages, asteroid impacts, mass extinctions. Purposeful souls live by this principle. They don't see failure as a tombstone, they see it as a milestone. A failed experiment is not wasted, it is data. A setback is not defeat, it is recalibration. Like a spacecraft slingshotting around a planet, using gravity itself to accelerate purposeful souls. Use adversity as fuel for trajectory. Now, let's be real. Resilience doesn't mean they don't hurt. They bleed, they grieve, they doubt. The difference is that they metabolize that pain into growth. They allow the fire to temper, not consume them. Like steel forged in heat, their character emerges stronger than before. And here's where the science meets the soul. Neuroscience shows that when you face challenges, your brain rewires itself, neuroplasticity at work. Pathways strengthen where effort is applied. In other words, resilience is not just a mindset. It is literally sculpting your brain. Purposeful souls are artists of their own neurons, painting persistence into their biology. So don't mess with them, because every obstacle you place in their way is not a wall, it's a stepping stone. Every attempt to break them is an invitation for them to grow stronger. They are supernovae in human form. Pressure in, brilliance out. But resilience alone is directionless if not paired with another force determination. The laser focus that turns resilience into momentum, clarity into progress. Determination. If resilience is the ability to rise after falling, then determination is the refusal to stop rising. It's the steady burn of a star that shines not for seconds, not for hours, but for billions of years, turning hydrogen into light across the cosmic stage. Purposeful souls harness that same energy. They channel focus so sharp, it cuts through distraction like a laser. Imagine a spacecraft charting a trajectory to Mars. The target planet is millions of miles away, moving at 24 kilometers per second. Yet the spacecraft must hit its orbit with pinpoint precision. How? Determination, sustained course correction, constant calibration, relentless forward motion. That's what purposeful souls do. They pick their trajectory, then adjust, refine, and persist until they arrive. Now, let's put this into human terms. Determination isn't loud. It doesn't always announce itself with slogans or hashtags. Sometimes it's quiet, the student who stays late in the lab, the parent who works 2 jobs while still making time to read to their child at night, the activist who continues the fight long after the cameras have gone home. But here's the paradox. Determination doesn't guarantee instant results. In fact, it often guarantees struggle. The path of purposeful souls is littered with setbacks, dead ends, and detours. The difference is, they keep walking. And science explains why this works. When you apply sustained effort to a problem, your brain literally reorganizes itself, strengthening neural networks, building efficiency. Determination is not just a trait, it's a biological training program. You're rewiring your own operating system with every act of persistence. History remembers the determined. Edison tested over 1,000 prototypes before producing a working light bulb. Darwin spent 20 years refining his theory of evolution before publishing it. Determination doesn't just chase success, it creates the conditions for it. So don't mess with the purposeful souls, because once they've set their sights, the universe itself seems to bend around their persistence. Obstacles become background noise. Distractions dissolve. They are comets blazing through the void, immune to the chill of space, carrying fire wherever they go. But if determination is the engine, passion is the fuel. Without passion, determination burns out. With it, determination becomes unstoppable. And that leads us to the fire within purposeful souls. Passion. In the cold vacuum of space, stars burn because fusion will not let them be still. Hydrogen atoms slam together under immense pressure, releasing energy that radiates across light years. That energy doesn't just illuminate the star itself, it warms planets, drives climates, makes life possible. Purposeful souls are powered by a similar fire. Passion is not decoration. It is propulsion. It is the energy that turns determination from a grind into a calling. Without passion, effort is mechanical. With passion, effort is exponential. Think of it this way. A rocket on the launch pad is pure engineering. Metal, fuel, equations. But when the engines ignite, when fire roars out of the boosters, that's passion. That's what lifts mass against gravity. That's what takes humanity to new worlds. Passion works the same way in us. It's not just enthusiasm that burns out. True passion is sustained, like nuclear fusion in a star. It's not about intensity in one moment, but about consistency over time. Purposeful souls tap into that fuel source. Their work doesn't drain them, it energizes them. They don't wake up wondering if it matters. They wake up compelled, because not doing it would feel like betraying the laws of their own nature. But passion is more than fuel for personal journeys. It's also contagious. Stand near someone ablaze with passion, and you feel the heat. They pull you in, ignite your own dormant embers. Galileo's passion made the telescope more than glass and metal. Rosa Parks' passion turned a bus seat into a turning point in history. Passion scales from the personal to the planetary. And here's the science of it. Passion is literally chemical. When you work on something you love, your brain floods with dopamine and endorphins. Those aren't just feel-good chemicals, they enhance focus, improve resilience, and rewire memory. Passion biologically strengthens your ability to persist. It's feedback from evolution itself, telling you, yes, keep going, this matters. So don't mess with the purposeful souls whose hearts are ablaze. They are not reckless flames that flicker and fade. They are stars, and stars endure. They carry within them the power to illuminate not just their own path, but the paths of everyone orbiting near them. But even fire needs direction. A wildfire consumes, a star nurtures. That's where the next essence of purposeful souls emerges. Purpose itself, the North Star, that gives their passion trajectory. Purpose. Without it, passion is like a rocket blasting in every direction. Impressive, but unsustainable. With it, passion becomes trajectory, focus, destiny. Purpose is the North Star. Not the brightest star in the sky, not always easy to find, but unwavering once you fix your gaze. Purposeful souls live by this. Their actions are not random, they align. Their choices are not scattered, they converge. Like planets pulled into orbit by a star, their lives circle around something larger than themselves. Think of the Voyager 1 spacecraft, launched in 1977. For nearly half a century, it has traveled through space, guided by a mission program decades ago. Along the way, it sent back images of Jupiter's swirling storms, Saturn's rings, and finally, one of the most humbling photos ever taken. Earth, a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam. That mission had clarity, it had direction, and because of that, it became history. Purpose works the same way in a human life. You may not always see the destination. You may drift through darkness for years. But if you have that inner programming, that compass of purpose, you will keep moving forward, gathering data, creating meaning, leaving light behind you. And here's where it gets profound. Purpose is not about ego, it's not about recognition or applause. True purpose transcends the self. It asks, how does my life serve the greater whole? How does my spark add to the cosmic fire? Purposeful souls know that success is hollow if it begins and ends with them. They measure their lives not by accumulation, but by contribution. Biology even reflects this. Studies show that people who feel their lives have purpose live longer, healthier lives. Purpose lowers stress, sharpens cognition, even strengthens immune function. In evolutionary terms, purpose is not a luxury, it's survival. Because communities bound by shared purpose endure. Tribes with purpose thrive, civilizations with purpose rise. Those without collapse into history's rubble. So don't mess with the purposeful souls who have found their North Star. They are not wandering aimlessly, they are navigators. And even when storms rage and skies are cloudy, their compass remains true. But purpose doesn't stop at direction. It inspires vision, the ability not just to follow the North Star, but to imagine entire new constellations. And that brings us to the next essence of purposeful souls. Visionaries unveiled. Vision. The human eye can only perceive a narrow slice of the electromagnetic spectrum. Red to violet, that's it. We cannot see X-rays or gamma rays or radio waves without building instruments to extend our perception. But vision, true vision, is not just about seeing with eyes, it is about seeing with imagination. Purposeful souls extend their perception into the future the way telescopes extend our perception into the cosmos. They look not only at the world as it is, but as it might become. They are architects of possibility, artists of the unseen. Consider Galileo. With a crude telescope, he gazed at Jupiter and discovered 4 moons orbiting it. That vision shattered an old worldview, one where Earth was presumed the unmoving center of everything. Galileo didn't just see moons, he saw a new cosmos. That's what purposeful souls do. They see patterns where others see noise, they see opportunity where others see impossibility. Vision is not passive. It demands courage. Because when you describe a future no one else can yet see, you invite skepticism, even ridicule. The Wright brothers were mocked for believing humans could fly. Space exploration was once dismissed as fantasy. But purposeful souls know that today's absurdity often becomes tomorrow's reality. And science backs this. Neuroscience shows that when we imagine the future vividly, when we construct mental simulations of what could be, our brains activate nearly the same neural circuits as if those events were already real. In other words, vision rehearses reality. Purposeful souls spend their lives rehearsing futures until they manifest. But vision without action is hallucination. That's why purposeful souls pair their dreams with discipline. They don't just point at the horizon, they build ships to reach it. They don't just dream of stars, they design rockets. So don't mess with the purposeful souls who carry vision. They are the ones sketching the blueprints of the future, while the rest of us are still admiring the scaffolding of the present. They remind us that progress is not inevitable, it is imagined first and built second. And vision naturally calls forth another quality: leadership. Because when you see what others cannot, you become responsible for guiding them toward it. And that is the next light we must explore in the constellation of purposeful souls. Leadership. In the natural world, gravity is the great leader. It does not shout, it does not command, it does not demand obedience, yet entire planets, stars, and galaxies follow its pull. Leadership, in its truest form, works the same way. Purposeful souls do not lead by force, they lead by example. They become the gravitational centers in the lives of others. Stand near them, and you feel the pull not toward them, but toward the best version of yourself. Think of a lighthouse on a stormy night. It does not chase ships across the sea, nor does it beg them to change course. It simply shines, and in shining, it saves. That's leadership. And here's the paradox. In a world obsessed with authority, the most powerful leaders are often the humblest. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't rise on tanks. He rose on words, on vision, on courage. His leadership was not measured by how many followed orders, but by how many found their own voice. Science even offers insight here. Leadership, like gravity, emerges naturally from systems. In flocks of birds, no single bird commands the flight pattern. Instead, each adjusts subtly, aligning with a few neighbors until the whole flock moves as one. Purposeful souls understand this principle. They don't control others, they align with them. They create resonance. And when leadership is authentic, it inspires continuity. Leaders plant seeds in gardens they may never see bloom. They light torches that others carry long after they are gone. Purposeful souls accept this. They don't lead for legacy, but for impact. So don't mess with the purposeful souls who lead. They're not tyrants of power, but custodians of vision. They understand that true leadership is not about building empires, but about building people. And leadership, when tested by time, requires persistence. Because vision may flicker, passion may wane, obstacles may multiply, but persistence carries the mission forward. And that is the next orbit in our constellation. Persistence. Imagine a river carving its way through stone. Not in a day, not in a year, but over millennia. Drop by drop, current by current, the river etches canyons into the earth, sculpting landscapes that will outlast civilizations. That's persistence. Purposeful souls embody this geologic patience, this cosmic endurance. They understand that the universe does not reward those who sprint briefly, but those who endure consistently. Stars don't form overnight. They collapse slowly, gathering matter until the density ignites fusion. Civilizations don't rise from a single idea. They rise from generations refusing to let go of that idea. Persistence is not glamorous. It doesn't always earn applause. In fact, it often goes unnoticed, hidden in the grind of repetition. The scientist who runs 999 failed experiments before the 1,000th breakthrough, the musician who plays scales in empty rooms for years before filling a concert hall, the parent who shows up day after day, no matter the fatigue. That's persistence, the quiet force behind every visible success. And physics has a metaphor here: inertia. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Purposeful souls use persistence as their inertia. Once they've set their course, they continue step by step, regardless of resistance. Setbacks may slow them, but they do not stop them. Now, persistence is not stubbornness. A rock that refuses to move is stubborn. A river that changes course to reach the ocean is persistent. Purposeful souls know when to adapt, when to shift strategy, when to flow around an obstacle rather than crash endlessly against it. Their persistence is not rigidity, but resilience extended through time. History remembers the persistent. Marie Curie spent years isolating radium, long after peers had abandoned the effort. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison and still emerged with the persistence to pursue reconciliation. Persistence doesn't just build careers, it reshapes societies. So don't mess with the purposeful souls who persist. They may bend, but they will not break. They may fall, but they will rise again and again until rising becomes second nature. They are the rivers carving canyons, the stars collapsing into brilliance, the tectonic plates shifting continents. They remind us that time is not the enemy of purpose, but its partner. And persistence, when guided by clarity, resilience, determination, passion, purpose, vision, and leadership, converges into the final essence, cosmic connection. Because the purposeful soul does not persist only for themselves, but for something greater, a recognition that they are not separate from the universe, but a thread woven into its vast tapestry. Stand beneath a clear night sky, far from the noise of cities, and you'll see it the Milky Way stretched across the heavens, a river of stars. To the untrained eye, it looks like a backdrop, a stage set for Earth's dramas. But to those who know, it's not a backdrop at all. It's a reminder that we are part of this vastness, not separate from it. Purposeful souls live with that awareness. They know that every breath they take is recycled stardust, that the atoms in their bodies were forged in furnaces of stars that exploded long before Earth was born. They know that the oxygen they inhale today may pass through the lungs of someone halfway across the planet tomorrow. They live with the deep humility and the deep empowerment of knowing that separation is an illusion. Science confirms this. Biologists trace every living thing back to a common ancestor, a single cell 4 billion years ago. Physicists remind us that gravity binds not just planets, but people, pulling us into each other's orbits. Chemists show us that the molecules that make us are endlessly shared, circulating between soil, sea, and sky. The cosmos is not out there, it is in here. Purposeful souls feel that truth in their bones, and because of it, their actions are not confined to self-interest. They see their life as a thread in the larger fabric of existence. They act with a kind of cosmic citizenship. They are not just human, they are earthlings, and beyond that, they are children of the universe. This connection changes how they measure success. It's no longer just about what they gain, but about what they give. It's no longer about how brightly they shine alone, but about how much light they add to the constellation of humanity. So don't mess with the purposeful souls who live in cosmic connection. Their vision is bigger than profit. Their mission is bigger than ego. They see themselves as participants in the grand story of the cosmos, a story that began with hydrogen and will one day end with stars burning out. And in the brief window in between, they choose to matter. And that, my friends, brings us to the crescendo. Because when you weave together all these qualities, clarity, resilience, determination, passion, purpose, vision, leadership, persistence, and cosmic connection, you realize something profound. Purposeful souls are not mythical. They are not rare exceptions. They are possibilities. And the question that remains is simple. Will you become one? We began with a paradox. Humanity has mapped the observable universe. Yet many of us still feel lost navigating our own lives. We can live stream from Mars, but struggle to listen to each other across a dinner table. We can split atoms, yet not always split differences with compassion. That paradox still holds, but purposeful souls show us a way through it. They remind us that wisdom is not measured in terabytes, but in choices. That progress is not guaranteed by technology, but by character. That survival is not about strength alone, but about clarity, resilience, determination, passion, purpose, vision, leadership, persistence, and connection, lived not in theory, but in practice. And here's the truth. These qualities are not reserved for heroes in history books. They are not cosmic gifts bestowed on the few. They are human capacities available to all of us, to you, right now. Think of it this way. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. For most of that time, it produced stars, galaxies, planets, but not meaning. Then, on a small, rocky world orbiting an average star, matter arranged itself into brains, capable of asking questions, capable of feeling wonder, capable of creating purpose. That matter is you. You are the universe, aware of itself, which means when you live with purpose, the cosmos itself is learning to live with purpose. When you persist, the cosmos persists. When you shine, the cosmos shines through you. So don't mess with the purposeful souls. Not because they're untouchable, but because they're unstoppable. They bend adversity into growth. They turn passion into change. They make leadership about lifting others. They measure success not in trophies, but in trajectories. They are rare, yes, but only because so few of us have yet chosen to live that way. The invitation then is simple. Become one. Because the universe doesn't care whether humanity survives. Stars will still burn, galaxies will still collide, black holes will still spin, but we care, and that's enough. Our caring, our clarity, our connection, that is what gives meaning to the cold laws of physics. That is what transforms hydrogen into humanity. So the next time you look up at the night sky, don't just see stars, see reminders, see ancestors, see possibilities. And remember, you are not small, you are vast. You are not insignificant dust. You are stardust with awareness. And the greatest honor you can give the universe that created you is to live a life on purpose. When Voyager 1 turned its camera back toward Earth in 1990, it captured an image that still shakes us. Our planet, a pale blue dot, suspended in a shaft of sunlight. From that distance, Earth was less than a pixel in size. No borders, no nations, just a fragile speck floating in the vast dark. And Carl Sagan reminded us. Everything we love, everyone we've ever known, every king and peasant, every triumph and tragedy, all of it happened on that mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Now, think about it. Against that backdrop, what does it mean to live with clarity, with resilience, with determination, passion, purpose, vision, leadership, persistence, and connection? It means everything. Because while the universe may be indifferent, we are not. The cosmos doesn't care if we survive. Stars will shine with or without us, but we care, and that is enough. Purposeful souls know this. They understand that meaning is not found, it is made. They know that while we cannot control the expansion of the universe, we can control the expansion of compassion. While we cannot stop entropy from increasing, we can stop indifference from spreading. And here's the most humbling truth. You don't have to be Galileo or Mandela or Curie to be a purposeful soul. You don't need telescopes or revolutions. Purpose doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it whispers in small acts. The teacher who believes in a student when no one else does, the scientist who refuses to give up on an experiment, the neighbor who chooses kindness instead of apathy. Don't mess with the purposeful souls because their gravity is quiet, but irresistible. They bend the trajectory of lives around them. And when enough of them exist, they bend the trajectory of civilization. So the question I leave you with is not, are there purposeful souls out there? The question is, will you choose to be one? Because when you do, when you wake with clarity, rise with resilience, act with determination, burn with passion, follow your purpose, see with vision, lead with humility, persist through struggle, and connect to the cosmos, then you are not just living, you are radiating, and in radiating, you honor the stars that forged you. So tonight, when you step outside and look up at the sky, remember, those stars are not distant strangers. They are your ancestors, and the light you see has traveled millions of years to reach your eyes. Now ask yourself, what light will you send forward? What photons of kindness, clarity, or courage will ripple outward from you long after you are gone? That is the measure of a purposeful soul. That is the legacy that matters. And maybe, just maybe, if we live this way together, then someday when another civilization looks across the galaxy at this pale blue dot, they won't just see a planet that existed, they'll see a planet that mattered. Here's the irony of it all. In the cosmic sense, we are small. We occupy one planet, orbiting one star, in one galaxy among trillions. Our lives are measured in decades, while stars burn for billions of years. From that perspective, it's easy to feel insignificant. But flip the lens, because in all the vastness of the known universe, with its black holes and quasars, its pulsars and nebulae, only here on this pale blue dot has matter arranged itself into something capable of reflection. Compassion and purpose, that's not small, that's extraordinary. Purposeful souls recognize this. They know their existence is improbable, and because it's improbable, it's precious. They live as though each breath, each decision, each act of kindness is a way of honoring the universe that birthed them. And so I say again, don't mess with the purposeful souls. Not because they are untouchable, but because they are inevitable. Wherever life struggles, wherever humanity teeters between despair and discovery, purposeful souls rise. They are gravity in human form, pulling us towards something greater. The question that remains is simple. Will you be one of them? Because the universe will go on without us. The galaxies will spin, the stars will die, the atoms will scatter. But the legacy of purposeful souls, that fragile, fleeting, powerful thing called meaning that is ours to create. So go, live with clarity, rise with resilience, move with determination, burn with passion, navigate with purpose, see with vision, lead with humility, persist through struggle, and connect always to the cosmos that lives within you. Because when you do, you are not just a person living a life. You are the universe, conscious of itself, shining back into the dark. And that is the greatest purpose of all. When future archaeologists of the cosmos look back on Earth, they won't measure us by our skyscrapers or our satellites. Those will crumble, drift, decay. They won't measure us by our wealth, because currency means nothing to stars. They will measure us by whether we learn to live with purpose, whether we aligned our brief spark of awareness with something greater than survival. Purposeful souls already show us the way. They remind us that meaning is not discovered in the heavens, waiting for us like treasure. It is created here on this fragile world, in how we treat each other, in how we rise after we fall, in how we shine while we still have time. And isn't that the real paradox? The very same universe that renders us small also renders us significant, because while stars burn hydrogen, only we burn with intention. While galaxies collide, only we can choose compassion. While black holes swallow light, only we can decide to create it. So don't mess with the purposeful souls. They are not merely surviving the cosmos. They are sculpting meaning out of it. And you are invited to join them. Because someday, long after our sun has gone cold, long after our names have been forgotten, the ripples of our choices will still echo in the fabric of existence. And maybe, just maybe, the universe itself will remember that. For a brief moment on a pale blue dot, stardust woke up and chose to live with purpose. We began with a paradox, a species capable of splitting atoms and mapping galaxies, yet still struggling to find meaning in its own neighborhoods. That paradox remains unsolved. But maybe, just maybe, the solution has been hiding in plain sight all along in the way purposeful souls live. Because clarity, resilience, determination, passion, purpose, vision, leadership, persistence, and connection, these are not superpowers. They are choices. And every day, you wake up with the opportunity to make them. So the real question isn't whether purposeful souls exist. It's whether you will choose to be one. History will not remember us for the tweets we posted or the gadgets we bought. It will remember us for whether we rose to the occasion of existence, whether we aligned our brief, improbable lives with something larger than ourselves. And when you do that, when you live not as dust adrift in the void, but as stardust with awareness, you transform the paradox. Human brilliance is no longer paired with confusion, but with responsibility. Technology is no longer divorced from wisdom, but married to it. Success is no longer about outshining others, but about radiating together. So tonight, when you look up at the stars, remember this: you are not small, you are vast. You are not insignificant dust. You are the universe, condensed into thought, capable of wonder, and capable of purpose. And if that isn't reason enough to live differently, then what is? One day, long after we are gone, long after Earth itself has changed beyond recognition, the atoms that make up your body will still exist. They will scatter into oceans, into trees, into air, into stars yet to be born. You are temporary in form, but eternal in matter. And purposeful souls understand this. They live not just for their moment, but for their echo. That's why they endure. That's why they lead. That's why they matter. Because to live with purpose is to accept that while we cannot control the vast arc of the universe, we can control how we move within it. We can choose to be noise, or we can choose to be signal. We can choose to drift, or we can choose to navigate. And that choice, your choice, is the most powerful force you will ever wield. More powerful than gravity, because it shapes not just matter, but meaning. More powerful than light, because it travels not just across space, but across generations. So don't mess with the purposeful souls, because they are not waiting for the future, they are already building it. And the question that remains, the question the cosmos itself seems to whisper every time you look up at the stars is this: will you drift through existence as though your life were accidental? Or will you live as though the universe created you on purpose? Because the truth is, it did. You are the cosmos, awake. You are stardust, thinking. You are the universe, reflecting on itself. And the greatest honor you can give the universe that birthed you is to live your life as though it matters. When you leave here tonight, nothing in the universe will have changed. The galaxies will still drift apart. Stars will still burn their fuel. Black holes will still warp the fabric of space-time. But something within you may change, and that is enough. Because the cosmos does not need us. It will continue indifferent long after we are gone. But we need each other, and purposeful souls know this. They live with the awareness that the universe may be silent, but meaning is something we compose together, like musicians adding notes to the same cosmic symphony. So here is my challenge. Tomorrow, when you wake, don't just go through the motions. Choose one act, one thought, one step, one moment that aligns with clarity, resilience, determination, passion, purpose, vision, leadership, persistence, or connection. Just one, and then another, because civilizations are not built in a day, and neither are purposeful souls. They are built choice by choice, habit by habit, orbit by orbit, until a single life becomes a constellation, and a single generation becomes a galaxy of meaning. So yes, the universe is vast. Yes, our lives are brief. But in the end, it is not the size of our existence that matters. It is the direction, it is the trajectory. And when you choose to live with purpose, your trajectory bends, not just your life, but the lives around you. You radiate, you ripple, you matter. So don't mess with the purposeful souls. They are not here to be remembered. They are here to remind us all how to live. And if enough of us live that way, then maybe, just maybe, when another civilization looks across the stars at this pale blue dot, they will see not just a planet that was, but a planet that chose to matter. One day, billions of years from now, the sun will exhaust its fuel. It will swell into a red giant, casting Earth into fire, and then collapse into a quiet white dwarf. Our planet, our mountains, our monuments gone. On cosmic timescales, even the most permanent things we build are temporary. And yet, meaning survives. Not in stone or steel, but in the lives we touch, in the echoes we leave, in the human story. That's what purposeful souls understand. They don't waste their brief spark of awareness pretending to be immortal. They spend it making ripples. Ripples in science, in art, in kindness, in justice, in love. And those ripples carry forward across generations, shaping futures they will never see. So when you look up at the night sky, remember, the light hitting your eyes has traveled for millions, sometimes billions of years to reach you. Long after its source is gone, the light remains. Be like that light. Live so that when you are gone, your impact still travels. Your choices, your compassion, your clarity, still illuminating lives far beyond your own. That is what it means to be a purposeful soul. And the ultimate paradox? The universe does not need you to matter, but when you choose to matter, you make the universe itself more meaningful. So go live, shine, ripple, not just for yourself, but for all of us. Because you are not just in the universe, you are the universe. Awake. Here's the paradox that began our journey. We are a species clever enough to send machines to Mars, but still learning how to live wisely on Earth. Clever enough to split atoms, but still learning how to mend divisions. Clever enough to map the universe, but still asking what it means to be human. Purposeful souls are not the ones who solve this paradox. They are the ones who live inside it with grace. They acknowledge the vastness of the cosmos, but refuse to be paralyzed by it. They recognize the brevity of life, but use it to intensify their purpose. They know they are stardust, temporary in form, but eternal in consequence. Because while stars shine for billions of years, their light eventually fades. But the ripples of a purposeful soul, an act of courage, a discovery, a kindness, a truth, those ripples can last as long as humanity does. And that is where you come in. You may not control the galaxies, but you control the gravity of your choices. You may not command the stars, but you can decide what kind of light you radiate into the lives around you. You may not bend space-time, but you can bend history in small but meaningful ways through the trajectory you set today. So the final question is not, what is the meaning of life? The final question is, what meaning will you create with yours? When you walk out of here, the universe will go on as it always has. Galaxies will expand, stars will collapse, time will march forward. But you have the chance to do something the universe itself cannot. To live with intention, to choose to matter, to become a purposeful soul. And if enough of us make that choice, then maybe, just maybe one day, when distant beings look across the void at this pale blue dot, they won't just see a world they'll see a world that chose to matter. When you look up at the night sky, every star you see is a time machine. Some of that light began its journey millions of years ago, long before humans ever walked the earth. And yet, here you are, able to witness it, able to think about it, able to wonder what it all means. That's not small. That's extraordinary. Because while the universe will continue just fine without us, galaxies will collide, stars will explode, black holes will spin only here on this pale blue dot, has the cosmos arranged itself into a form that asks questions about its own existence. You. So the choice before you is simple. Drift aimlessly as though your life were accidental, or live with purpose, as though the universe created you on purpose. And if you choose the latter, then you are not just living in the universe. You are the universe, alive and awake, shining back into the dark. When you step outside tonight and look up, remember this: those stars are not just distant lights. They are your ancestors. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, all of it was forged in stars that lived and died billions of years ago. And yet, here you stand, a piece of the cosmos, able to wonder where it came from. That is no small thing. That is the universe becoming aware of itself. So the real question isn't, what is the meaning of life? The real question is, what meaning will you create with yours? Because the galaxies will keep spinning, the stars will keep burning, the universe will go on. But only you can decide how brightly you will shine in the brief moment you are given. Live with that awareness, live with that purpose, and in doing so, you will not just exist in the universe, you will help the universe itself to matter.